Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're jumping right into something we are calling the architecture of suffering. Now, I know that sounds a little heavy, but stick with me, because it's a fascinating look into, literally, the one universal experience every single human being on Earth is gonna face. Guaranteed, no exceptions. And yet, crazily enough, it's the exact thing we are almost never adequately prepared for.
I mean, just think about our formal education for a second. We spend years, sometimes literally decades, sitting in classrooms, right? School teaches you mathematics. It teaches us how to calculate, measure, and solve these incredibly complex equations.
We master history, languages, the sciences. By the time we're done, we are brilliantly equipped with all these tools to deeply understand the physical and historical world around us. We know exactly how the external world functions.
Okay, let's dive into this, because here is the glaring, massive omission in all of that education. Nobody teaches you how to meet pain. And honestly, ancient philosophers actually viewed this as one of the greatest failures of human civilization. The failure wasn't that people suffer, because, pain is totally inevitable, but that they suffer without understanding it. Civilization has fundamentally failed to give us a framework for processing the tough stuff that is absolutely guaranteed to happen to us.
So, without a proper framework or philosophy, what happens? Our default human reaction just kicks in. We do what is completely, 100% natural. We run from it, we numb it, we distract ourselves, maybe medicate it, or simply scroll past it on our phones, just pretending the pain isn't even there. But guess what? All this does is agitate the problem. By avoiding it, we basically ensure the pain grows until it's way too large to ignore, and suddenly, bam, we are left completely alone with it.
So let's look at Section 1, the second arrow, or the Stoic distinction. This brings us to our first major mind shift from the ancient philosophers who literally dedicated their entire lives to solving this exact problem.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core of Stoic philosophy on suffering. The philosopher Epictetus separated pain into two totally distinct categories. First up, there's the first arrow. This is the real pain. The physical sensation, the genuine loss, the actual, undeniable difficulty of what's happening right now. But then there is the second arrow. This is the added pain. It's the story you build around the loss, the meaning you assign to it, the catastrophic future you project from it. Look, the first arrow is getting cut off in traffic. The second arrow is deciding the entire universe is out to get you and your whole day is completely ruined. Make sense? The first arrow is what happens to you. The second arrow is what you do to yourself in response. Most of human suffering, the prolonged, really devastating kind, is made almost entirely of second arrows.
Now, just to be super clear here, this philosophy is absolutely not about toxic positivity or building some kind of emotional dam to just hold back your feelings. The Stoic Seneca actually wrote, "I do not say that grief should not be felt, I say that it should be overcome." He knew that a person who refused to feel their pain wasn't strong, they were just building a dam. And we all know dams do not hold forever. It's really about feeling the real pain fully and honestly at the pace of the human heart. Feel what's real, but add absolutely nothing extra to it.
Moving on to Section 2, Pain plus Resistance, and the Buddha's question. Let's head over to the East and see how this builds in other ancient traditions.
The Buddha spent his entire life grappling with one massive question: why do we suffer? The original meaning of the word dukkha is just fascinating. We usually translate it as suffering, but originally it referred to the feeling of a wheel that is slightly off its axle. How brilliant of a visual metaphor is that? It perfectly represents this persistent friction, a subtle wrongness in how we're just rolling through life. The Buddha observed that this friction is almost always created by our refusal to accept reality exactly as it is. It's that stubborn belief that things should be different than they are.
So, the absolutely crucial point is captured perfectly in this simple little equation. Pain plus resistance equals suffering. On the flip side, pain minus resistance equals just pain. When you remove your resistance, when you finally stop demanding that reality somehow change its past, you're left with raw pain. And you know what? Just pain, without that heavy, suffocating layer of resistance on top, is something a human being can actually survive, often way more easily than they ever imagined.
All right, Section 3, the last human freedom and the space between. To see how this wisdom holds up under literally the worst modern conditions imaginable, we turn to psychiatrist Viktor Frankl.
Frankl survived Auschwitz. He lost his wife, his parents, his entire life's work in the camps, yet he discovered the ultimate truth about human resilience. I want you to just listen to this observation and let the immense gravity of it fully sink in. Frankl wrote, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom."
He discovered that even in genuine, unavoidable, totally devastating pain, this space exists. It might be small, it might be barely perceptible at first, but it is real. In that tiny space, you aren't just the victim of what is happening to you. You are also the person who decides what the pain actually means. Frankl called this the last human freedom, the freedom to choose your response to circumstances you did not choose.
Which brings us to section 4, the gold in the cracks and making you more. This touches on a concept that modern culture has almost completely forgotten.
See, ancient cultures didn't view pain merely as a wound or a diminishment. They believed that certain kinds of pain, when understood clearly and handled well, actually make you more capable, more compassionate, and more genuinely human. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius definitely recognized this. He famously wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." It's not that suffering is secretly this great thing or that we should go out seeking it, but because it's unavoidable, it acts as a teacher. It's a doorway for those willing to use it. The person who finds redirection in their difficulty is genuinely stronger than the person who has never been tested.
And there is a truly beautiful physical art form that perfectly mirrors this psychological mind shift. It's called Kintsugi. It's the Japanese art of repairing broken pottery with gold lacquer. When a bowl breaks, rather than just tossing it in the trash or hiding the crack with invisible glue, the crack is literally filled with gold. The break is celebrated because it's part of the bowl's specific, unique history. Your damage is not your diminishment, guys. Your damage is your history. And integrating it honestly is exactly what makes you irreplaceable. The cracks are exactly where the gold goes.
Finally, section 5, putting down the arrow, a moment of reflection. I want to step back from all the philosophy for just a moment and speak directly to you, like a guide sitting right beside you in whatever difficulty you might be carrying right now, not in theory, but the actual, real thing you're dealing with.
The Stoics wouldn't tell you to just stop being sad. No way. They would sit beside you in the difficult truth of what is actually happening and remind you of this one absolute fact. You have survived every difficult thing that has come before this. Not untouched, sure, not unchanged, but you made it through. And you will move through this current pain too. Not by fighting it, but by feeling only what is real, breath by breath, until you realize that you're still here. And honestly, that is enough.
So here is your reflection. I want you to actively look at a hardship or a pain you are carrying right now and ask yourself, really honestly, how much of what I am feeling is the first arrow? How much of this is the actual, unavoidable loss?
And how much is the second arrow? How much is the story you are projecting, or the meaning you're forcing onto it? Look, you can't remove the first arrow, we know that. But that second arrow, the one you are shooting at yourself over and over again, you possess the power to put it down. Right now. Just for this moment. And then the next.